watching and listen to us talk about people and who knows what else.
Well, I just hit it, so they've only had about 30 seconds or so. So let's see if we start getting some Facebook notifications and all that. I didn't do a scheduled post again.
I know because I got a nasty email about that.
Oh, you did?
I did. Somebody said, well, I guess I'm just going to have to show up and watch the show because I didn't get any notification whether y'all was going to have a show and even what you were going to talk about. And I
Well,
said, well, you're going to have to take that up with the complaint department, and Rex is in charge of that.
yeah, that'll be fun. For those folks that are starting to tune in here, so one thing you can do is just set you a calendar deal on your phone every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, unless something drastic happens. And I don't think we've missed a Tuesday in over a year. I don't think we have. Maybe one.
I don't know. You may be right. I mean, I was scouring through some of our old shows so far back, looking for some information, and man, I was shocked at the dates of how far ago it was. But
Yeah, I don't think we missed a one. But anyway, look, folks, just set your calendar every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We'll be here. Some Thursday nights, not every Thursday night. Sometimes it's once or twice a month. Sometimes we do it 3 or 4 times a month on Thursdays. But every Tuesday night we'll be here. So we got about 12 people watching. So that's kind of getting us a start, folks. For those of you that are tuning in, we'll do our countdown and all that good stuff here in a minute. But we need to make sure that y'all tag and share some friends, especially if you know anybody that works up in the registrar of voters or the clerk of courts offices, because it looks like there might be some election fraud in Bossier. Maybe we're going to discuss a few minutes of that. And Duke, I think you were at the PEC meeting.
yeah, the PEC meeting, and Robert H. Wright, he was there at the PEC meeting, and it's going to be interesting to talk about all the things on social media. And I've already posted it to my Facebook, so that'll quantify as me talking about the PEC meeting and the business of the PEC on social media. So somebody's going to be mad at me, and y'all will see why here in a few minutes.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I'm going to put it in the comments too that we know that Duke's screen is freezing a little bit every now and then. As long as his audio is fine, I think he's a little bandwidth impaired this evening, maybe Rimmer or Robert Barry or somebody's out there desperately sawing through your internet connection line out there.
I'm guessing that it is a cockroach exterminator trying to impede our progress to expose the dark, shadowy confines of Bossier Parish politics.
Yeah, very
That
well.
sounded, yeah. Anyway,
All right. So
school board,
yeah.
RPEC, election fraud, even the police jury. Police jury got in, and police jury and the sheriff's office got in on some of that election fraud and Bossier stuff.
Yeah,
Did you know that, Rex?
I kind of heard a few rumors of that, so that'll be interesting. And we have a guest call in, and it's a voice that you may recognize from the radio if we can get him on the phone. So this might turn out to be a very interesting show tonight.
Oh, now wait a minute. That sounds like a surprise to me.
Yes.
Because I seen that in the notes, but I'm really not sure what that's about. So I guess I'm going to have to be surprised about who that is. You going to surprise me with that one?
It's something about office supplies or school supplies. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a little clue.
know.
Maybe fixing some roads, but that's if we can get him on. He's at another function, so we'll see. Anyway, all right.
Now I know where that originated from, so let's do our break.
Yeah, okay, folks. So we're about to do our 2-minute countdown. Then there's a little 30-second ad intro, and we will be back. Go get some popcorn, get you a stiff drink, tag some friends, text some friends. We don't care if you watch on YouTube or Facebook. Doesn't matter. We'll be back.
Chris K., who is Kyle Larson?
Kyle Larson. What?
He must be Bush League. That guy must be Bush League or something. Go ahead. Break.
All right, break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes, folks. Y'all get ready.
Just they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
Cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this.
So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by his Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. SmarterGeek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are. Again.
Here we are, the infamous ones, cockroaches of the week, whatever. We're high achievers.
Yes, we are. Well, I guess that depends on who you're talking to. So, hey, I want to kind of start out the show tonight, and, we got the little ad promo that we've run, so I just want to make sure that we recognize, A, your and Kara's business, and as well as mine, and also, again, of course, Eagle Truck Center. And, we've had some people donate some coffee money, and that kind of helps out with things, so we appreciate all of that.
Yeah, and SmarterGeek, you didn't talk about yourself. So, you roll around and fix everybody's computer problem. I mean, the simple crap, you're the guy, and you almost 99% of the time know the answer. They can almost articulate it to you, and you know the answer already. But a lot of times you got to dig into it, and you prefer Apple products over Microsoft. I mean, well, I've learned that from you. And as an example, I will say you've got me hooked on Apple.
Now, you realize that we're live, and that just got recorded, that you said that, right?
I know.
Okay.
I mean, and you were right. I got to admit, I have been a Microsoft guy forever. You convinced me to get an Apple, and I got to tell you, it has been flawless ever since, and I love it.
Well, outstanding. And then, of course, you're in Kara's business, the mortgage business and all that. Y'all been doing that for, well over 20 years. And, we got to do a few things to kind of pay the bills. So, anyway, that's why we got logos everywhere and our little ad intro. So.
Yeah. How long have you been doing computer stuff?
20 plus years.
Yeah, that's like us. We're the oldest independent lender. We're not owned by a bank. We're the oldest independent lender that I know of north of I-10. There may be somebody else, but I don't think there is.
Yeah. So
anyway,
Okay, and then one more thing. Jeremy Gallman, I see, who is going to run for mayor and be our next mayor, I think. He is watching tonight. And Jeremy, just so you know, I'm going to do a Facebook Live with Shane Nugent. We're planning on doing that Thursday evening, maybe Charlie too, if he comes on, about the Junior Bass Fishing League for the late middle, and junior high kids. They've got a fishing tournament Saturday on Cross. So I'm actually going to do a Facebook Live on their page Thursday night. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Let's get into the show.
Yeah, so it is going to be a hodgepodge of things. I mean, you didn't have Bossier City giving you nothing because they didn't have any council meeting today. But there was some stuff. The police jury, they've been doing quite a bit. There's been an uptick in activity from the police jury. But the school board is all over the place, and we're going to be talking about the school board and some of their activities. They're going around. They got a renewal coming up, and they're not leaving nothing to chance on it. They ventured around to the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, the domicile of all that is conservative in Bossier Parish.
So you mean the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, just to aggravate my good friend Robert H. Wright, the Bossier Parish Republicans are actually doing a few issues-based things and had the school board come out and speak, huh? So is this actually what does the school board have to say? Is it actually a tax increase, or what's the deal with this? We've talked about it briefly, but just for new viewers.
Yeah, what the school board had to say was that, folks that see a delay with someone that's wearing a 24 hat are probably, somebody, with the Dominator or whatever their name is some of the other racers, seeing that car like lap by them real fast. And so that blur that they see is actually when the 24 was like zipping by them. That's, what the school board was trying to say. Chris K. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, and election fraud in Bossier Parish. Who knew?
Yeah, do we want to lead off with that?
I think so, and
because I don't want to spend. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I don't know a lot of the details yet. But I'm going to start getting a screen ready. But
yeah, well, I can tell a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of you guys, and we tried to get him on the show, but he, Seth Keshel, and a lot of you folks may not recognize that name. Some of you may, but and you can't watch mainstream media news and stuff, whatever. And you may or may not believe there was election fraud in 2020. We kind of went down the rabbit trail early on in our videos, and Seth Keshel is a guy who I think he was like a military person, kind of like Colonel Phil Waldron in intelligence and all of that. But he is a statistician as well, too. And he went down the road of determining what in our case, parishes and counties across the country and or states, from some statistical model as to whether or not they had fraud in their elections or not. Kaylee
Yes.
Larkin corrects me, U.S. Army captain. What would we do without Kaylee Larkin? So this cat, he worked all these numbers up. Well, all these numbers and statistics, they were put out a long time ago, and he presented them at, the cyber symposium on elections. I think it was in like Colorado, Mike Lindell sponsored it or what have you. And it was kind of a shock to a lot of folks that he specifically pointed out a lot of parishes in the state. Now, you and I have been, all over elections in Bossier Parish. I mean, from poll watchers to you were even the one of the what was your title up there again?
Board of Election Supervisors.
Yeah, you were appointed by the
real official sounding.
Yeah, you were appointed by the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, and you filled that role. And
Right.
I have poll watched for U.S. senators, for presidential campaigns. I mean, you name it. Congressmen, tons of them.
Yeah.
Set up there, watch mail ballots be open. We've kind of seen it all. And, the And as a rule of thumb, you and I have never had any reservations about, that Bossier Parish. There's no way.
Well,
right?
Here's what I can report about firsthand is, at least up until 2020, late 2019, I can't remember when I resigned from the board up there and let somebody else take the position, but I could just tell you that the ladies, and it's mostly ladies, in the Bossier Parish office, in the Registrar of Voters office, as well as the Clerk of Court's office, they both kind of work together, so to speak, during the elections. And the people that were sent up from the Secretary of State's office both do a superb job. And so that's why I'm a little shocked and kind of concerned that this guy's got Bossier as well as Caddo, but especially Bossier Parish in yellow in this map. And I've gotten feedback from multiple people that, there's election fraud in Bossier. It's been proven.
Now, I will tell you this. I have had a couple of occasions where I was not exactly a fan of the process, and I'll tell folks the experience. And, so one of those experiences was going as a poll watcher. I was a parish-wide poll watcher, or a super poll watcher is what they call those, where you can go into any precinct within the parish and you can kind of look at the process, look at things. So I go into this one in Houghton, and the person who was in charge of that one, basically, as soon as I walk in the door and I announce myself and identify who I am and what I'm there for, she immediately informs me that I've got this chair over in the corner on the other side of the room that I can sit in, and they'll let me know if they need me. And
that's not quite the way that works.
That's not quite how that works. And I politely informed her. I said, well, that's not actually going to work. Actually, I want to see the count and I want to compare it to the machine. And she informs me, well, you don't have the right to do that. And I said, well, I tell you what, we'll find out whether I do or whether I don't. So I walked outside and I called Jill Sessions. And before I'm off the phone with Jill, that lady's walking back outside saying, I'm sorry, what would you like to see?
Right.
And that problem was corrected.
Yeah.
Now,
well, and I'd like to throw one other thing too that not a lot of people are aware of is that during the elections, it is an open meeting for you to go watch the voting process up at the courthouse. The only catch is you're sequestered in there until, I forget, is it 7 or 8 p.m. So you're sequestered in there, not supposed to have a phone, no nothing, only going to the restroom. And honestly, you're supposed to be escorted by a sheriff's deputy to the door of the bathroom then. But it is an open meeting, and the public is welcome to go. And the public, it's also an open meeting for the Board of Election Supervisors, which meets periodically throughout the year surrounding elections. You can actually go up and see how the commissioners in charge and all that are selected. Those are open meetings, and you actually can do that.
yeah, that's right. And too many people, I never exercised that right or that ability to go and view and see it for themselves. And, I've never had any kind of questions about our election. Now, I will say, recently, one of the last times that I was a poll watcher, and I would point out that it's been a little while ago because our PEC, Republican Parish Executive Committee, changed a little bit. There was a hostile takeover organized by people who I identify as being conservative. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But what I would say is things kind of fell off by the side, and I'm going to be criticized for saying that. And I'll explain what I mean about all that in a little bit. And because you guys are going to want to hear it, because quite frankly, I could care less whether you like me or you don't like me. All I care about is whether or not our parish and our community is doing good or not. And if me keeping my mouth shut makes the difference in whether you like me or not, well, guess what? I'm going to run my mouth. But
yeah, and that's arguably one of the reasons you and I tend to get along so well, and typically, although not always, but typically agree is neither one of us care whether you like us or not or what you think about us. We're going to put the information out there.
Yeah.
when it concerns elected officials and, government and bureaucrats and that sort of thing.
Exactly. And the other thing, and I need to wrap this up because I've
Yeah.
been dragging this out, and we got to get moving. But the thing was so I go to the courthouse and I'm watching the machines. Well, this was the first time that they kind of put the new, and I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure they were the Dominion machines, and then they
Yes.
had the mail ballot, the scanners. And you said right there in the intro, you said about, Jill's office and all those. And again, I got to tell you, the Bossier Parish ladies up there have always, in my opinion, been high achievers, with the exception of that one deal out in Halton that time. They've always done a magnificent job. But I go up to Benton this one time, and they're scanning mail ballots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one lady is in there. They've got the scanners, multiple scanners sitting in there, and they're scanning the mail ballots. Well, I was paying a lot of attention to it, and this was before Dominion and the 2020 election, and all this was kind of taking place. And I was watching, and the one lady that was sent up by the state, I'm telling you, she was hostile. Her demeanor, and I'll never forget it. I mean, because I wanted to ask her a question. I was kind of asking and being informed, and she was like, "You can't ask me a question. You can't talk to me." I'm like, "Okay, hold up. Don't get mad. Don't get mad." I was like, "I'll get my answer. I just, it ain't got to come from you." And I come to find out she was a lady that was sent up here by the state. Now,
Right.
In retrospect, after hearing all the war stories about election integrity and the things that happened in the 2020 election, I got to tell you, I wonder, was she a Dominion employee that was put in to, hired by the state to be up here to be representing the state? I don't know.
Well, maybe, and of course I can't speak to that particular deal when you were there, but I've never seen a Dominion employee in all the times that I was at the courthouse sequestered in and over at the voting warehouse with the machines and all that sort of thing. But it could have been.
But if they're a subcontractor of the state, would they identify themselves as an employee of the state, or, I'm a Dominion employee?
I
can't
you
talk
ask,
to you.
If you ask,
I'm here
them,
to
they will.
oversee that multiple ballots are shoved in the machine so that you don't notice. Don't talk to me.
No, again, it could have been because I wasn't there that particular time, but most of those are actually sent up from the Secretary of State's office, and they will clearly identify themselves. And most of them, they're pretty helpful, but they've got a job to do while they're there, so,
Oh, y'all, Mark Smith has chimed in, and you see that?
He's got a little catfish over at Shane's. We don't need to get into the Shane's restaurant business tonight. All right, look, let's wrap up this. So, real quick, and we'll circle back. All right, so here's my only issue, and this is going to get explained tomorrow night, is he's got Bossier Parish on the yellow, which you can see down here as I'm kind of pulling this up, is the suspect likely fraud, but the key phrase is moderate divergence from trend. So I want to be clear that unless I see some evidence tomorrow night at the meeting presented for actual fraud, what he's doing is he's looking at voting trends and voting registration trends, and he's saying, hey, wait a minute, based on that and the way that certain parishes or certain localities voted, I'm going to flag this on the map. But again, we'll get some clarification tomorrow night because, let me pull up the graphic for this meeting. I think that should be it right there. There is a meeting tomorrow night, 6 p.m. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, February the 9th at 6 p.m. in Houghton, 5051 Highway 80. And they've got some speakers. Captain Seth Keshel that we were just talking about. Susan Bairnsfather, I hope I'm saying that right. She's an election grassroots activist. Jill Hines from Health Freedom Louisiana. Chris Crackman, friend of ours.
Now we've had Jill
interviewed.
And Chris, and
Right.
I think Brandy. Hadn't Brandy been on?
I think we had Brandy on for a little bit of an interview, and she's in the comments all the time as well. And I think she's going to start doing her own videos and live videos too for election activism, which is awesome.
She's been doing some, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then Diane Long from We the People and Brenda O'Brock from We the People, and you and I have known both of them for a while. We'll leave it at that. Okay.
We'll leave it right there.
But if any of y'all are
Be nice.
Right.
My new overturned leaf of being nice.
There you go. So for any of y'all that are interested in this event, there it is right there. And says wear your boots and warm clothes. It's going to be an outdoor event by the fire pit. Bring a chair. Bring your patriotic flags. And I think they're supposed to have a food truck out there. So bring your little money or whatever, buy you a little food while you're out there. Duke, I think we're planning on, I know you're probably going too. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am going. I would love to have a chat with Seth Keshel. I mean, I'd love to visit with Chris and Brandy Pugh and, obviously Jill. But Seth Keshel and his statistics, I'm interested in that as well. I was on to this a long time ago, Rex, and I think you and I talked about it, and you probably forgot. It's when we did the video and we actually showed folks that you could actually stuff a mail ballot. You know, if you got it, make a fake ballot and actually open the ballot if you were able to, intercept it and stuff it.
Yeah.
And anyway.
And again, for instructional purposes only, we're not suggesting that you stuff ballots, which would be illegal. Okay. So with that disclaimer out of the way.
We were trying to determine. But, as I understand it, this event got a visit, Rex, from the sheriff's office today.
Wow. So they're going to provide a police escort and directing traffic there? Is that what they're going to do?
Well, I think they were trying to determine whether or not this was going to be, some kind of safety hazard or something of that nature, because you remember the police jury in the sheriff's office has had a sudden interest in events in people's yards and at their houses and on their properties. And, but I understand they showed up and they didn't have any problems with the event.
Oh, well, that's good. So maybe they'll come out there and direct traffic if it's needed. I mean, I don't know if it'll be needed or not. They do that at Man Church too. Over at the stable over at Gaddy's place, which is usually pretty big ordeal. I think they have that once a month. I've been several times.
Well, it's a slippery slope. And as you know, in a previous show, we covered this issue. And Chris Crackman, I find it ironic that the Caddo Alliance for Freedom is there, because what's the big fight that they're having in Caddo Parish?
About annexation, or let's see. Well, I don't think it's really annexation, but it's all these regulations and all that on the folks in the 5-mile buffer zone.
Yeah, Unified Development Code, the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and all these rules. And Danny McCormick and had some legislation, but you've got these people trying to put all of these government edicts on folks. Like over there, I mean, they're talking about regulating whether you got black copper Morans or you got foghorn leghorn chickens in your yard, and whether you got a boat in the front yard.
Well, and look, I got to put this comment up here. Raymond Green says, did they make them pay $500 for permits for a special event? I don't know. Good question. I wonder if they did.
That's a good question, Ramon. And the thing is I don't know. We talked about it. Government creep and trying to control people and control their lives, control their activities. There shouldn't be any problem with this event. It shouldn't even really be a question. And
And I hate to say it, I wonder. Speaking of that, I wonder if they're going to, Mark Rohde and Ryan Gaddy and some other folks are involved with the Man Church deal. Again, I fully support Man Church; it's awesome. But I wonder if they're going to fall under that $500 deal. I don't know if they're.
Well, Man Church isn't a business or anything, and I don't know. They're always, having bunches of people and cooking stuff and all. I mean,
we'll have to see how this goes. Could be interesting. Okay. And Brandy Pooh clarifies it's a family reunion, not an event. That's right, Brandy. We forgot. It is a family reunion. A family of Republican conservatives who are interested, and I guess could be Democrats too, who are interested in making sure voting has some integrity left.
Don Thomas said revival. There you go.
Yes, folks, we're being a little coy because of the Bossier Parish Police Jury and a kerfuffle that happened last year.
And I understand that's not over. I understand there's actually a lawsuit on that, Rex. Did you know that?
No, I'd heard some rumors about that. We might need to get some details on it. Okay.
Wait a minute. Where's Mark Smith? Is he still at Shane's? Yep. Yeah. Mark Smith is still at Shane's. Okay.
One thing about Shane's, they do have good sweet tea. I mean, it's processed tea or whatever, but it's still pretty good sweet tea. All right. But I digress. Okay. So anyway, that's the event tomorrow night. Everybody come out there and join, learn something about voting integrity and all these other issues, the Caddo Alliance for Freedom and unmasking and all that. And should be an interesting event.
And Caddo Parish, by all means, Caddo Parish was lumped in there too. I mean, according to his statistics, Caddo Parish was, there was some problems in Caddo as well. So this ain't just a Bossier thing. I mean, this guy, he's somebody, he knows his math.
Hey, Trump,
Caddo and Bossier needs to go visit this guy.
Trump has mentioned him at more than one rally and mentions him specifically when Trump himself says that there are 8 million votes that were cast for Trump that weren't revealed or reflected in the ballot, and it's due to this guy's data.
And look, Robert H. Wright makes a good point, and I want to point this out. Robert H. Wright says he will be at church, and I do know, because I asked this question about this, because I mean, who you don't do that. Who puts a show on or an event on a Wednesday night? Well, this guy, I mean, they are going around the country and anywhere they can go. In fact, they call it like the barn something or whatever. They don't matter. They feel so strongly about all of this. They'll literally go to somebody's backyard just to talk to a group of people, to tell them and try to educate them on what has happened and to put these statistics out here. That's to the level that these folks are going to try to get this information out there. And it's no disrespect to a Wednesday night, because that's historically a church night. It's not about that, but these cats are living and breathing it and literally barnstorming.
Robert H. Wright asked, "Are we going to video it?" Maybe. So we'll just kind of see how the meeting goes, Robert. And hey, go to church on Sunday. I'm sure there'll be a prayer at this meeting, at this event, or family reunion, or whatever it is. So, but yeah, I understand it. Wednesday is typically a church evening, so I'm sure they understand. Some people will be at church services. All right,
yeah, so
what's next?
Where do you tell me? I'm wondering. I'm looking here at the notes, and I see, where is the gate? I see Bossier City transparency, but I will bet the majority of folks watching our show can already tell us where Bossier City is on transparency. I think they probably already know the answer.
Probably so. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me touch on the gate deal real quick, and then we'll move on. I may go ahead and have our guest call in. As a matter of fact, let me shoot him a text and see kind of, what his status is at the moment. So the gate deal is pretty simple. I want to know when we're going to have this announcement for ribbon cutting or whatever, where they go out there and have all the dignitaries and all the important folks come out there with a big pair of scissors and cut the ribbon, or groundbreaking with their shovels and look like they're actually getting their feet dirty and hands dirty for the gate at Barksdale.
You're meaning like the responsible parties for securing monies to fund things, right?
Yes, the ones who like to make themselves look good.
Okay. I'm just clarifying. I wanted to make sure we knew who we were talking about.
Yeah, does anybody have any information on, they're working on the overpass over I-20 from 220 on this new entrance. Can't talk this evening. This new entrance to Barksdale, but I hadn't really heard anything about the gate situation. We mentioned it, other than they didn't have funding, then oops, they forgot, and so then they started trying to get the funding put into the bills, but so far it's just been crickets since that. Has anybody heard anything? I mean, it's going to be awfully funny if we have this really nice entranceway off the interstate and all that, which arguably could be used to develop some of that area back there and all that, but they don't have an entranceway to Barksdale because they forgot to get funding in time for it, or I don't know.
Well, I'm glad they did it, because I hear there's some great duck hunting right there on PEC Bayou, and that's going to make it easier to be able to access it.
I've heard that too. So anyway, we'll see. All right, I'm going to send a text to our guest, and so you can kind of pick up from there and ramble for a minute, and we'll see about our guest status.
Well, I don't know on the guest thing, but the guest thing came to mind, I think, by virtue of what happened at the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. And a lot of you watching, you may be Democrats and you may not give a crap about the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, but I think, you may want to watch this, because I think we even talk about Democrats, and it doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat, it goes both ways. And Democrats have these same problems, and the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee has problems as well. And there was a lot on the plate here, and the school board and the school system was front and center in this deal. And go ahead.
Well, yeah, there was a lot there. I wasn't at the meeting. I did watch. Our good friend Barry Butler was doing a little bit of live video. I don't think he did the whole meeting, and so I kind of caught a little bit of it. But there was some discussion about, a whole lot of stuff, including the school board. And I think one of the questions that was presented, we might get to that audio here in a little bit, was about whether the school board buys locally. We've heard from multiple people that they don't buy locally. They tend to buy from out of state to save money or whatever they're doing. And so there were questions about that. And speaking of that, our good friend Ashley Lee Bullock just put a comment up. She got to meet Barry Butler last night because, Ashley Lee was at the meeting. Isn't that correct?
She was, and believe it or not, Ashley Lee Bullock, one of our viewers on the show, and Bossier Watch was even mentioned and talked about at the meeting.
Imagine that.
But Ashley Lee Bullock, so for all of you watching, as a result of her watching our show, she is now on the PEC. And
let me interrupt you for a second, because we've got our caller coming in, so kind of let me get him situated. Are you there, Mr. Mysterious call-in guest?
I am here.
Oh, that voice sounds familiar. Let me see if I can. Switch us around, and I'll see if I can find a cool picture of you. So, Mr. Martin Grau, why don't you introduce yourself?
I feel so important. First of all, thank y'all, you two, for what y'all do and bringing stuff to light. I know sometimes you get a bad rap for it, and I may not always agree with you. People always think we're friends or know each other, and I say all the time, if you only knew. We've been on both sides of different things at different times. But, hey, I appreciate you guys, because I do know Duke, and I've known you regardless if somebody agrees or disagrees. I know you guys love your area and want to see the best for it and see the best for your people, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we appreciate you taking a few minutes to come on the show. So, Duke, why don't you go ahead and fire away?
Yeah, so Martin, knowing that I've heard this question, we've had it sent to us numerous times about the school board using local vendors, and at the PEC meeting last night, I took occasion to ask the question, and I have the audio queued up, and I'm going to go ahead and play what transpired, the question that was asked, and what the response was last night at the Bossier Parish School Board. So, hang on tight. I'm going to play this, and then we'll get you to respond, okay?
You got it.
Well, technical difficulties. Hold on just a second. Is it playing on your end, Duke?
Yeah, hang on just a second.
All right. Yeah,
here we go.
There you go.
I've got a couple of questions. A lot of people, and I hear this frequently, and I've heard it a lot lately, they express concern that it seems like the Bossier Parish School Board doesn't use local vendors.
Actually, I know that Ms. Bamberg can address that.
I know that's a big concern, so that was one thing I did make sure to look up before we came tonight. Buying local is very important to us. It's very important to the board. I know that's something the school board members bring up every time we look at our bids and the proposals there. For 2021, I did look up our highest paid vendors. Of course, that's going to include utilities and things like that, insurance. I took all of that out. And we had about 22 vendors that we paid over $250,000, eliminating insurance, utilities, and employee benefits. 8 of those 22 were from the Bossier and Shreveport area. Now, of course, a lot of those biggest ones are going to be construction, but we do use a lot of local construction vendors from the Bossier and Shreveport area. So that's around 37% in number of vendors over that amount are from our area, but around 56% of the dollars are in Shreveport Bossier of those top vendors. So we are doing as much as we can to buy local. I will tell you, with some of our federal money and some of the larger purchases, we have to be careful because we have to follow state and federal guidelines, which do at times prohibit a buying local clause in our contracts. And so we have to make sure we abide by those. But at any chance we can, if it's a competitive price and if it's a good quality, we definitely try to buy and support our local vendors. So yes, sir.
One thing that, and Dennis, I think was our second year on the board where we put something in to where local business, there was like a point system, that where local was given an extra point. If there was 3 people that bid on it and it was a Bossier City company, they got bumped. That's something that we're still doing, correct?
We still do use a good point system. Like I said, we have to be careful with the federal purchases, and we have to be careful with some state and there. And anyway, not to bore you with all the rules, but there are some guidelines we follow there. But any chance we can.
It's just a question that here.
Well, and Duke, and one of the people that asked that question the most is someone that I've met with and explained and looked, and that person has never bid on any of the stuff for us to be able to.
I will ask that question.
So you know, I 3 years ago I heard.
All right, Martin. Now, I am just guessing, but I'm thinking a person that he may be talking about is you. Is that
who was speaking? You don't have to tell me who was talking there.
That was Shane Cheatham.
Okay.
So anyway, he was, I don't know if you have or you hadn't, but he was basically articulating that he knew who we were talking about. And, you know, I think, I don't know, and it may be wrong, I think he might have been trying to talk about you. And, you know, I got to tell you, I am a little concerned about whether or not Bossier Parish businesses are being given consideration, because in this same meeting, I asked another question about why we couldn't, and we'll get to that, about why we couldn't find a competent Bossier Parish attorney to represent the Bossier Parish School Board. And we're going to get to that later on, so don't feel like it is. But he basically said that the person who he said a person, he didn't say you, but I felt like he was articulating you. Is that accurate or is that inaccurate?
If it was Shane, he might have. I've met with different of them over the years and had a meeting. I had a specific meeting with a few of them. I don't know which one it was. I don't know if they think they got a gotcha moment because they say I've never bid on anything. I guess I don't know. It kind of, you know, the meetings that I've had with everybody, I tell everybody from the beginning, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I would like for us all to sell our area. And so it's you know, it's kind of like y'all have to deal with, dude, when you start questioning, and then it's the way you question, and then it's a defense, and it's all I've simply said is, hey, man, this is a huge, you know, purchasing apparatus. It's a very large portion of our tax base. I have a retail location, so, you know, my taxes and stuff that I pay to be where I am in Bossier, it would mean a lot to spend as much back in our community as we can. And look, that doesn't just go for Bossier Parish School Board. It goes for everybody. And I think all I've ever asked, I've never asked, hey, buy something from me. What I've asked is, hey, make this a point of focus, guys, as you guys are going in and you're thinking about changing this and doing that. But it seems like we just status quo. It's like debate, or let's think about what's best, or hey, let's put a bridge in so everybody can walk from Kingston and St. Charles Court and, you know, not ride buses like that. To challenge that or to ask that is somehow combative. I mean, I simply, as someone that is fortunate enough to have been in business for years and years and years, my family, we say 100 years. It may be less, it may be a little bit more, but in the Shreveport-Bossier community on both sides. Me and Bossier, myself, for 15, 16 years, I think we have somewhere between 2.7 and 2.8 million invoices. We've never sold anything to the Bossier Parish School Board. We've sold to every single school board in the state and weekly get calls, but we don't bid. That's bureaucracy stuff. That's they're going to ask for Chevys and we sell Fords. You have to have an aggression, okay? You have to have a cultural change where people are stepping outside the box. They do it everywhere. Caddo Parish does it. I sell very little to Caddo Parish. I know exactly who the guy is. He comes in every now and then and says, man, you got a dry erase board, you got this, you got that. It says a lot that Bossier Parish has never one time opened the door, and they get offended when I tell them that. I talk to their purchasing agent. I said, hey, we don't bid on stuff. All the stuff on your bid sheet, that's for Chinese-made, non-American outside of our area. They bring it in, and so they're able to be cheaper. See, they don't pay the ad valorem taxes and the property taxes. They keep it over there in Texas, and they send it over here and underbid everybody. And I assume my family gave up on that years ago because I've never been someone to chase the school board. So my meetings with those guys weren't, hey, come buy office furniture. They were, hey, we should be spending as much money as we can growing the thriving businesses that are in Bossier Parish so that we can keep and sustain our own. Not everybody goes to college, but I'll give you, for instance, I say this all the time. Best way to keep a gun off the street in Shreveport is to buy a piece of office furniture from me. You know why? Because most of the people that work for me come from impoverished communities that didn't graduate. And when they have a job and income, they don't go to the streets and guns. Very good. Same thing for Bossier. You have hundreds of millions of dollars that are being spent. I just simply want somebody to say, man, you know what? You're right. We're going to make that focus. We're going to talk about that. We're going not, you're doing everything wrong. You should do this. I never got into any of that, but it becomes this political battle, whereas if you have a different idea or you question something or you want to have debate, you're somehow an obstructionist or you're somehow,
Yeah, that sounds a lot like Bossier City and Manshack. Manshack is not a Bossier City company. Yeah, Ruttenbuck may be a kid or whatever from Bossier originally, but Smart on Manshack's part hire some kid from Bossier that became an engineer to try to find his way to root into Bossier City politics to get all the engineering business. And a lot of people, engineers in Bossier, are starting to ask the question, why should we even have any other engineering firms in Bossier if Bossier City's just going to dish it all out to Manshack? It's the same thing. I mean, we should support local. I agree with it 100%.
I 100% agree. And it's not just our government bodies. It's our big companies, too. Every day, car dealership, just the other day, got somebody from Dallas coming in to install stuff. Those are labor jobs. Those are good jobs that are here. I fight for that no matter what. And if you're a purchasing agent, an elected official, if you're just a concerned citizen, I mean, that's what I do on a daily basis. And I don't need you to buy any office furniture to do that. I've donated to the Bossier Parish School Board. I continue to and support different entities. I'm grateful for them, love them. Most of the people, I graduated from a school. I told those guys in that meeting, and this is what's sad, and I won't talk forever because I'll let y'all talk forever. I like to listen to you. But I'll tell you one more thing, and this will tell you kind of the thought pattern behind it. That meeting that I took those guys to, that I guess Shane's referring to, has used that a couple times to, I kind of have a gotcha moment with me. But the point of that meeting was to explain to them about a 10-year goal that our company's made a decision to do. And it's the Community Excellence Scholarship. And what we do is we invest in graduates of Caddo Parish, Bossier Parish, and some of the surroundings. My focus is on Bossier Parish. We get them into college or trade school, but we provide jobs to bring them back to our area and come reseed here so we won't continue to lose our brightest and our best. That was the point of the meeting with those guys, and that's what really is burdensome to me because just because you have a difference of opinion or a difference of idea, or you kind of want to twerk this or twerk that, doesn't mean that we're on opposite sides of the fence and we don't love our areas. And I hate that they missed out on that, because there was a young airline high school graduate that was in that meeting that I bet you those guys, without looking back, could tell you what his name was. But he's going to be very successful here in a very short period of time. And my encouragement to them was to reach into those areas of the education system and go back towards the alumni that were educated here and suck some of that back into our area and just love and invest back in our community. And that's, whether it's you guys or anyone else, that's really all I want to do for this area, because I want to see us have the best and be the brightest and stop being last.
So, So Martin, let me make sure, because I think I heard you correctly a little bit ago. You said that other parishes, and I think you used Caddo Parish, they actually have come into your store to shop around, look around, and see what you have available. Is that correct?
They call, and so I did a little bit of, research, kind of looking into this and see where it was. We've sold to every single parish, and we talked to probably 40 ISDs all the way up into Oklahoma and stuff, because they call around needing this, needing that, needing this. But and I encouraged the lady at Bossier. I said, hey, just for our sake, for all the taxes we pay, come open the door, man. Let that buzzer ding. Retail's dying. Malls going down the street. Like, come open that door. Come out on your lunch break. We don't send salesmen out to, see you at your desk. Those are the guys that are working for out-of-state companies. They don't have a retail location where they employ people. And so that has always been my draw to all purchasing agents, whether it's Big Willis Knighton Hospital or whatever. Is, hey, come see me here locally where you can look at me in my face and let us help you design and set up and do what you do. And so still to this day, she never even came and seen our showroom.
All right,
so, which is crazy. And we don't sell them a lot of stuff. I mean, there's probably something, that we could come up with or help them design. I mean, we could certainly do those things, but most of the time that stuff's bid out to products we don't sell and nobody around here sells. Somebody in Virginia sells it.
Yeah, go ahead, Duke.
Well, I was going to say, did you or did you not have an exchange on like Friends of South Bossier or something or another on this subject matter? I mean, because we got a message from a commenter that said that that's not how I recall the exchange on Friends of South Bossier. And I don't know. I haven't seen it, but one of the commenters said that.
Yeah, I did. And, reading words and comments on stuff, you can't get people's real, views. So I don't want to hold Shane Cheatham to that. But that was he had posted something about, no bid contracts, or like he was standing up to him. I'm thinking, I mean, where were you at on no bid contracts and contracts when we were building all these schools around here? I mean, I didn't hear one thing.
Yeah, good point.
So I had a meeting with you. You never called me. And look, that's okay. Shane can have a change of heart, or he can now be, I'm grateful for it. So I certainly don't, because I think that Shane has brought an awareness that needed to be brought to a lot of different avenues. I just wish that what he longs for out of people that looked at him, I think he would have probably gotten it had he done that as an elected official as well. And I encourage our others to. Look, but Dennis Bamberg, love him to death, love his family down there. He probably thinks I'm crazy, but he's a solid Christian guy. Adam Bass, solid guy.
What do you
I don't
think?
know any of the other ones, but they wish well for our area. I just think that they're not willing to shake up anything, do anything different. And I think it's because they'll be ostracized for it.
What do you think? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that we have transparency across the board, from the Bossier Parish School Board to Bossier City to the police jury? Do you think we have transparency in government across the board when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars with everybody that's currently in government?
Transparency is such an aggressive word. I feel like it's acting as if someone else is trying to hide something. I think that there's not a lot of openness in a way that others that would bring value can bring that value, so we stay kind of stagnant. It's the Bossier Parish Police Jury. If they're the ones in charge of the current road system, I'm pretty happy with them right now because I love Innovation Drive.
Well, we talk all the we talk all the time about that these professional services and no bid contracts and people, and especially Manchac. Manchac is like right in our wheelhouse, but it seems like that, you're articulating that we need to spend more money with, Bossier Parish businesses, but yet we have all of these local governments that when you have these professional services that you end up with businesses and professional services that get the business, and local business doesn't even get a chance to put their name in the hat for it or whatever. So to me,
doesn't even get a chance. And sometimes they're regulated, or they'll say they're regulated, but there's not a culture to push back against Baton Rouge and or Washington. I heard the lady mention federal stuff, but a culture to push back against that, to make sure that you are getting the very best that you can, and you are planning for everything that you can plan for your area first. I mean, it's a problem the nation's had, in not putting ourselves first on the chopping block, and we just don't do it like we should for what we pay here in Bossier. If we paid a little less, then we would be fine. But we are paying top dollar in property taxes. I own property in other places. I own businesses in other places. It is ridiculously expensive to live here. It's ridiculous.
So let me ask you a question. So if the school board, and this is a question, and we're going to go through this at the PEC meeting. So if the school board and these 3 renewals that are coming up, so a question was asked, and we'll play it in the video here in a little bit. A question was asked at the PEC meeting is, what is the projected income, let's say 2025 or 2026, with the, anticipated increase in population and development, and what are going to be the proceeds in the tax then? Do you think that these property renewals should be renewed at the current rates, or should they be less based off of the anticipated growth?
Yeah. First, let's be honest, right? You say it's a renewal, it's a renewal of the same millage number, but in 2020, they reassessed everybody's property. Okay. So now when you put that same number on a new property value, you're paying more. Okay. So effectively, when you go down and renew these combined with, the valuation of the property now, you're going to be paying more money. And the part of the renewal that bothers me, Duke, is the pay for the upper echelon people. I think that we gave them that. They put it in there as a vote with some building stuff way back when, and they got it. When we had the big brouhaha where they wanted to raise rates pretty high and for teacher pay, the teacher didn't get it. And, we had businesses pitted against teachers and all of that stuff. This is a part of what everybody was so upset about back then, was what they gave themselves raises before they gave teachers raises.
Well,
so
we were looking at that earlier, and I'm sure the numbers changed a little bit. But back in 2018, the top 20 were making, what was it, over $90,000 in the administration side.
That's insanity.
Yeah,
insanity.
All right.
It's insanity. There's unfunded pension liabilities. There's a world of mess that, and I'm talking directly to you. If you're on the school board, I'm talking directly to you. It's okay that these problems exist. What's not okay is to not have debate and try to solve those problems for future generations. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay to disagree and have that argument in an open situation. Your people that elect you want to see debate. They want to see the best idea rise to the top. Being silent, having status quo, everything going on behind the scenes, showing up to the dog and pony show and smacking the gavel when nobody disagrees about anything is a waste of everyone's time.
I
Definitely
agree with that.
And I encourage, because I think some of those guys can have some great good ideas. I just think a lot of them are nervous or scared to have any.
Well, all right. So I know you're at a function or whatever, so we won't keep you too much longer. But I want to wrap up with this. So I want to get your thoughts, because we've all heard you on the radio with the ads about the roads. So what do you think about the little switcheroo that they did with us? They're going to fix I-20. They're going to redo the whole thing. And, oh, wait a minute, it's more expensive than we thought, so we're not going to do it now. What's your thoughts on that, Mr. Martin Grau?
My thoughts are this. Listen, when it gets so bad, okay, like say you and your old lady are having problems, or you and your teenager are having problems, and it gets so bad that you got to read a book, okay, to get your mind back right and to see what the situation is. Now, every voter in the state of Louisiana should sit down and write down these 3 words: fix the roads, okay? And every person that they elect, from top to bottom, from there on out, you've got to hold them accountable to do one thing. I mean, it's of epidemic proportion, and everyone knows that drives through here, that lives here, that everything, and it teaches our children, ourselves, our business owners, our guests and visitors that we're not good enough. And it's you got the mentality's got to go away. How can you not fix I-20? I mean, how can it take 20 years? It can't, right? I mean,
I hate that.
You don't want good for your people if you allow that to go on. It's insanity.
All right. Well, we've got a lot more to look at with the PEC meeting on the rest of the show tonight. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, kind of last minute notice, but we want to make sure and get clarification from you on the school board stuff. So, anytime if you see an issue coming up and you want to join in the discussion, just let us know and we'll be glad to have you back on.
You're right. And again, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Duke. I don't always agree with both of you guys, but I appreciate you having an opinion, being willing to say it, and being willing to kind of stand in the fire and let's see what happens. Hopefully, in the mix of it and long term, we'll get a better area for all of us.
Agree with that.
Well, we don't always agree, but we do agree on some things. And, I think we agree on this. We need to keep more money in Bossier Parish, and the Bossier Parish School Board could do a better job. And specifically on attorneys, I personally think we have competent enough attorneys in Bossier Parish to do the job that the Bossier Parish School Board needs done, and not shop it out to some out-of-town law firm. I truly feel that way.
Yep.
Well, I'm no attorney, but I am a third-generation office furniture guy, and you got a competent one of those on East Texas right next to the beautiful Beacon, you know?
There you go. We'll come visit you sometime.
God bless y'all. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. So that is a part of, we played you. I mean, and it was a lot of Martin talking. I am getting some messages.
That's going to blow the phones up a little bit. Good and bad, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, from the PEC meeting, so the PEC meeting didn't start off, but the PEC meeting was pretty substantial, significant. There was a lot that transpired.
Yeah, there was a lot that was said. So I'm gonna kind of get our screen queued up, showing our little audio deal, and we'll just roll through the audio clips, whenever you're ready, and let's kind of discuss and talk about these and get some feedback. Because there's a lot to talk about. There was a lot that actually happened at that meeting last night, apparently. All right, let's see here. Let me get this thing looking like it's supposed to here.
The PEC meeting started out, and I'm going to get to this. You had some vacancies. So in previous shows, we articulated about the non-transparent Tommy Chandler.
Right.
And I'm going to say it that way. And I'm sorry, Tommy, you've been a friend for, oh, good gosh, almost 3 decades, 2 to 3 decades. And, but, you wanted to be mayor. You made promises to the public and you didn't You didn't, or you're not holding those promises up.
Yeah.
That said, this PEC meeting, Tommy Chandler said at a previous PEC meeting when he ran, I'm going to set the stage here. I think that's what I got to do is I got to set the stage.
Yeah.
He ran for the Republican Parish Executive Committee. He ran for the Republican State Central Committee. And he ran for those. Why? Because somebody, probably Richard Ray, told him, this is what you need to do to burnish your credentials so that, going into the mayor's race, you can hold the banner to say that you're the most conservative and the most Republican candidate in the race. That's probably the why.
Yes, checking the box.
Checking a box. Makes sense. A lot of people do it. I think a lot of people have done it. And, prior to this, I don't remember Tommy Chandler ever coming to not a single Republican Parish Executive Committee meeting. I don't remember him ever coming to, he never came to a Republican State Central Committee meeting, so all of a sudden he's got this urge to be on the Republican Parish Executive Committee and the Republican State Central Committee. I don't know where it came from. And he flaunted around this picture of him with Trump that he had made years ago. Well, I got pictures with people. That don't make me conservative or Republican.
Well, it's kind of funny because there's somebody else with a silvery tongue who everybody thinks walks on water that likes to trot out those pictures all the time too. The common denominator going on there. So, but now correct me if I'm wrong, Duke. So Tommy was elected during the presidential primary back July 2020 or whatever.
He was elected.
Okay. But he never did resign until we brought it up on the show. And then the PEC had a meeting and actually, did the PEC make a motion about it or do a resolution about Tommy, or what was the situation?
Well, the thing was it was understood that the reason why Tommy Chandler did it. Tommy Chandler did it, to burnish his resume. And, after it was said and done, he ran against Ann Price. Well, right. There was a concerted effort. We call it the hostile takeover. And a lot of us, you, me, a lot of us were coined as cockroaches. And they ran against us to remove us because, and some people say it, the school board had a hand in it. Some people say Mike Johnson orchestrated it. And in fact, the term, we have to remove the crazies out of office. Now
crazies, cockroaches, cohorts, all of that stems from the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee people.
The crazies who oppose the school board tax increase, right? That arguably would have raised, for a teacher to have gotten a raise, would have raised their taxes more than they would have seen in a raise on their actual paycheck. Remember that?
Yeah. Hey, I don't remember seeing Tommy Chandler or the rest of them out there, along with the other 75% of us in the voting public, voting folks of Bossier Parish out against it. Maybe he voted against it. I don't know, but I don't remember any of them actually getting anything done.
That's right. But all of a sudden, the folks that were a part of all of that had to be removed. They were the crazies, and they were not the most conservative people in the parish. Funny how that all works. So fast forward to today, finally, Tommy Chandler owned up to what he said he would do, that he was going to resign, and he said it at a PEC meeting, and that he thought that Ann Price should be put back in, who was the former person that held the position before.
Mm-hmm.
Conservative as the day is long, she's not running for no office, has no interest in it.
Right.
And so that came to a head at this meeting because the seat is finally vacant because Tommy Chandler was moved to resign it. We pointed it out on this show. And, lo and behold, somebody was recruited, a popular person, and I like the person, was recruited to run against Ann. It also somebody that helped Richard Ray and is a right hand of Richard Ray and Tommy Chandler, and was recruited to oppose Ann Price.
We keep hearing all these same names over and over and over.
and we say them that maybe folks watching will pay attention. They'll share with people so that they can figure out the dynamics of politics in Bossier City and how they all work. But, you know, I just got to play it. I don't know how else to do it.
Let's move into the meeting. That'll help out.
So typically how these things go, for those of you who don't know, and I'm not 100% sure on the Democrat side, but I'm sure they have the same kind of thing. But in the Republican side, this is the way it goes. If somebody seeks a seat on the Republican, Parish Executive Committee, they get up and they give a speech. Ann Price gets up to give a speech. And lo and behold, somebody jumps up and wants to try to sideswipe her. And I'll go ahead and play the audio, and you guys can, determine for yourself. You may not understand the context, but we'll give it to you here in a second.
Yeah.
Danny Perdue, he goes in for the kill. Here we go.
I heard the same thing that you're talking about. So Mr. Bamberg and myself met and had lunch with...
Wait a minute. Wrong timestamp.
I like you personally, but I know when you were on the tech before and Tommy won, and we've had tried to get the records from you, and we couldn't get the...
Nobody ever asked me until Doug. Doug was the first person to ask me for the records.
Well,
I understand somebody was supposed to have asked me.
I thought you would ask us for the records, but it took like months to get the records, and
Once Doug asked me, I went back and John Dalton had some of them on his computer. Yeah. I had no reason to keep the records. I was just waiting for somebody to ask me for them.
I know we never got them all, but that was the only thing I had. Was when I was elected, and we were trying to get the records, and we were trying to put everything together, and we just had a hard time getting that done.
Well, nobody ever asked me.
Okay. Okay. So
now,
go ahead, and then I'm going to get my soapbox out.
Yeah. Now the context. So when you have a new election of the PEC, and if somebody's removed, Ann Price was the secretary prior to the new PEC coming on. So, look, Ann Price wasn't invited to anything after that. There was some glee and joy that all of the cockroaches and the crazies were beat off the PEC, with the exception of me and Collier. And, Doug Rimmer became the chair. Tommy Chandler was appointed to be vice chairman, replacing me as vice chairman. It was all kinds of glee and happiness. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a realization came that maybe none of us know what we're supposed to be doing. Maybe we don't know everything. So months later, a request comes about to Ann Price for minutes of the previous meetings in which, correct me if I'm wrong, Rex, because you did the website, but a lot of that was posted on the website, and a lot of those documents and stuff were kind of strode out in there. I really didn't pay attention to how that would work. As a vice chairman, my responsibilities was counseling the chairman and, kind of counting votes and making sure that we were heading in the right direction on things, but I didn't pay attention to any of that.
Well, now that I've gotten my feet propped up on my soapbox here for a minute, so let me go ahead and address this. So, hey, Danny, which Danny is the guy that was just speaking in that audio clip and, doing the passive-aggressive deal with Miss Ann. So, Danny, here's the real truth of it, and here's the proof of it very easily. You guys were elected July the 11th or July the 21st of 2020. You called me about a month later, and we had a good phone conversation, and I expressed that I had most of the stuff organized in digital files because I'm a fanatic about that. And a few days later, you came by my office, and I sat down. You sat down at my desk for about 30 minutes. I walked you through all the files that I had, which does include the domain name information and the whole deal, as well as the spreadsheet that I had to track the check ledger, the actual checkbook, so on and so forth. All the notes over everything technical about it, including the logos that I designed and all that. And I showed you all of that, sent the email, which you can see here on the screen, sent that on August the 14th of 2020. You can see that the attached notes, the PDF file, as well as the spreadsheet. And you can see Danny's reply on Sunday, August the 16th. Thank you so much for the information. This is very helpful. So maybe he's talking about whatever Miss Ann had. I'm not sure, or whatever the minutes were. I know I had a lot of the minutes in those files, so I'll just go out right out and say it. He's full of shit.
Well, it's interesting that he got all of that, because it's an interesting thing that him and Rimmer, Doug Rimmer, you remember Taxman Rimmer, the guy that when he was sworn in to be the chairman, says, I never, there's this rumor out there that I advocated for a tax increase, and that's just not true. I never did it. And then you and I played the audio of him actually advocating for a gas tax increase.
Well, as a reminder, we played it a lot. over and over.
We played it a lot. Now again, guys, these are the conservative Republicans, and we are the cockroaches, and we are the crazies. Okay, yeah. You're sitting here in black and white, and we can play the audio. And if I gotta check myself here. I gotta keep it in check. Ooh, you know what crazy.
You know what I actually want to do here? So, folks, y'all bear with me just a second. Duke, I'm going to take over the audio for a second, and I'm going to jump us up to the 12:05 mark. Okay? And, folks, I want y'all to listen to this video. So let me get this set back up here. All right, listen to this audio for a second.
I'm just not against you, but I mean, I was disappointed. I get disappointed when people own the PEC or past members of the PEC talk bad about the PEC to the public.
Okay, well, Danny, I assume that was Danny talking?
That was Danny.
Okay, so I hate to disappoint you, Danny, but I get disappointed for the exact opposite reason. Honestly, I don't. I just really expect it of most people. So I'm going to talk bad about the PEC right now tonight, and you can get a little more disappointed. So it's pretty simple. I've already shown where I provided all the information you needed. Miss Ann did, as far as I know, provide whatever information Doug finally asked for. It's not like any of us are mind readers. And then y'all want to come back in, and Doug Rimmer famously coins the term cockroaches and cohorts. So who are we talking about talking bad? And I'll give you another fond memory to keep in your stack there, Danny. And again, we had a great meeting. Danny's a nice guy, was super nice to me. But this is also, you were part of the impetus for the creation of Bossier Watch, by the way. The comments made by the incoming PEC back then, along with some other events that happened, is what launched Bossier Watch.
So, just so I'm correct here, was that a compliment, or should I be happy?
Well, kind of like Danny said, oh, he really likes Miss Ann, but I'm doing the passive aggressive thing too. More than one person can play that game.
Well, he did it well. Well, I'm going to jump us back because I think it's important that, my text is blowing up and I can't see who you are, and I'm not going to. I'm going to go back. So Ann has a great reply when Danny tries to jump on her and sandbag her and cut her off at the knees and say that she was trying to, and he was doing it so nicely, he was trying to jump back on her again.
Well, and look, I want to be perfectly clear, too. We're just highlighting this because, again, they're public officials. This is a public meeting. And Miss Ann Price is...
wait a minute. Well, hold up, because I want my 2 cents on that, too.
All right, but Miss Ann Price is more than capable of defending herself very easily. So this isn't just to defend Miss Ann. It's the principle of all this. Okay, dude, sorry.
Yeah, it's the principle of, no doubt about it. Well, Danny didn't have enough. Ann came back, and Danny didn't have enough. And let's give Danny another shot at Ann, and I'm going to play it.
Okay.
In fact, I ran across some the other day back when Sandy Konak was secretary. And I don't think we ever got some of the records back from Diane Long, did we? So it's been a problem for 2 years. I didn't purposely.
Oh, yeah.
I was just waiting for somebody to ask me for it.
I know the elephant in the room is that we're a pretty divided group in here, and I wish we could all just work together And if we got gripes against each other, let's work it out in here instead of out there.
And I agree with you. I mean, I thought we had resolved that, and I mean, it's almost like the Chinese taking over our website. Whose responsibility was that?
Yeah.
If we want to throw shots all night.
Yeah.
Now, Rex, you know the background of what I'm talking about, and to those of you watching, that was me speaking. I mean, it's almost like the Chinese taking over our website. What are we talking about, Rex? You want to expand on that?
I'm not really into gambling and whatever all this is going on at the bossiergop.com, but that same email that I showed you just a few minutes ago, let me pull this back up, where I provided all of this information. These same people that want to give Miss Ann, who's been involved in politics longer than most of us have been alive, wants to give her a lecture on how to play nice and get along. The same guy that had all the information concerning the domains and all that, they were able to literally lose the domain for the Bossier Parish Republican Party. As a matter of fact, I think they lost all of them because we had 4 or 5 domains registered. And now this Chinese whatever this is has taken over the bossiergop.com domain. They've put up a website there. Nothing can be done about that. It's gone. And so just remember, this is the competence level that we're dealing with here, people. And I mean, I can go back and I can show you. As a matter of fact, go ahead, Duke. I'm going to pull this up while you're talking.
The point is he's going to attack Ann, and Doug Rimmer sent, nasty email to Ann Price, and I had a lot of respect for Danny Perdue prior to this, but Danny is going to get out there and try to criticize Ann, on this and the request and how that went. He was also a part of trying to say or insinuate that something nefarious was done with the Bossier PEC in regards to the school board stuff. So here he is. He's going to carry the school board water. I'm going to say it that way because that's the way I have to believe it. He was trying to say there was something nefarious to the way the previous PEC did things.
Well, yeah, and that was the what he was trying to allude to. And again, that was one of the things that accelerated the creation and the ramping up of Bossier Watch and moving into the live videos that you and I started doing. And I just want to show you. So here's the Wayback Machine. This is, of course, it's not exact because it's the Wayback Machine, but this was the website for the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. This was November 28th of 2020. Again, you saw where I gave Danny the email for that, and I know he wasn't specifically talking about the website, but this is just an easy, simple thing. I even carried and continued to pay for the hosting for the following year. I don't know if you know that, Duke. I continued to carry the hosting. Now, in full disclosure,
you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that because I would have addressed it with the PEC since I was still on it. But you didn't tell me that.
In full disclosure and full transparency, the PEC previously did reimburse me for the hosting fees that I have to pay for every month for a website because I use premium style hosting and all this, so it doesn't really get hacked. But I actually carried that for the following year. In spite of all the cockroach and cohort crap, I didn't say anything. I just let it ride. And Danny and I sat right here in my office, and I explained, Danny, there's 2 things. You got to get somebody, you or whoever, to renew the domain names, and the hosting is carried under my hosting. I'll keep carrying it for a little while, but y'all need to figure out whether you're going to pay me to do it or hire somebody else to do it and hire another hosting company. Doesn't matter to me. No sweat off of my back either way. So I want to make that perfectly clear about, who was responsible for doing what. All right.
Now, it begs the question, Rex. So Danny is obviously, he was on the attack. He's part of the Get the Crazies Out team and Eliminate the Cockroaches team. And I've always liked Danny. But I got to tell you, when he went after Ann last night, and for him to say, we need to come together. We need to this divisiveness and stuff and all that crap. You know what? Hang on a second. Let me just play it. Y'all got to hear it for yourself.
Eating our own.
Right.
That's what we're noted for. The Democrats will get on board, they don't care who's running or what they're running, what their qualifications are. But this needs to stop.
But I think we as a PEC, we need to all work together to come together.
Sure.
And be one. And if we have something bad to say it in here. If you don't like something.
You know, it bothers me that people.
Okay. Do you hear what he said?
We need to all come together as one. And if we got something to say it here.
No. But if we got something bad to say, we say it in here. And he goes on to say, we don't need to put it on social media. And I'm going to say that's talking about us or me because I'm still on the PEC and talking about the PEC on here. Well, here's the thing. Newsflash to anybody, even Danny Perdue. And Danny, I still like you. You're probably going to be mad. You didn't speak to me the other night. But you know what? When we left, last night, when we left, that's fine. You can do that. I can still talk to you because if you choose to not like me because I'm talking about what's happening and who and everything and how the decisions are made, if you want to be mad about it, that's fine. That's on you. I'm not mad about it. But here's the thing. I could care less if anybody in that room likes me, does not like me. I don't give a damn. What I care about is that I believe in Republican values and the Republican principles. I believe in the Republican Party platform. I think it's the best way forward for the country. I know, Rex, just roll your eyes, spit, choke on whatever. You just shut up and let me get this out. I believe in that. I believe that's the best way forward. You know, I can't go down the Democrat road. I can't. But here's the thing, and I don't care who it is. I'm sorry, and I'm going to say it this way. You know, there's 70 to 80 something people watching. If y'all don't like what I'm saying, you know what? Tough. That's fine. You can not like me. You can hate me. Whatever. I'm going to say what I believe, and I'm going to say, you know, if you're not carrying the line and you're not doing what's in the best, I'm going to say it. And I'm not going to go be some Republican that's going to bite my tongue and not say what needs to be said. It's bullcrap. That is what has got us into the place that we're in this country today, is because people are not arguing. They're not saying, and we all, listen, everybody, we always say we need to hold our elected officials accountable, right? Isn't that what we always say, Rex?
Amen. I say it a
We're
lot.
always preaching it. Well, if we can't have our Republican elected people who endorse, you know, tax renewals for the school board or candidates, if we can't hold them accountable and make them accountable for their comments and their votes, I mean, how the hell can we hold elected officials in the legislature, Congress, Senate? How can we hold them accountable? We can't.
You know, we can't do it. We got a pretty simple, and look, you and I agree 100% on everything you just said. And look, I do believe in the Republican Party. I believe in the Republican principles. I don't believe in a lot of the folks who say they're Republicans, and I don't believe that they truly have the Republican Party as a whole have the best interests at heart. But let me say this. Bossier Watch, we have a pretty simple tagline. It's keeping an eye out. And that's exactly, you and I agreed when we started this, that we're going to do, come hell or high water. They can say what they want about me, they can say what they want about you, but we're going to keep talking, and the louder they get, I can promise you, the louder we're going to get, because we got a ton of information that is sitting there in the can that we haven't even put out there yet. A ton.
Oh my gosh, we got so much on these fake Republicans and fake. I mean, look, Linda Wayne Whittington Villamarant. She says, just what I'm hearing from you tonight is the reason why it is hard to be a Republican, because rhinos, because rhinos are all around us, never really stand up for anything just as long as I get my deal. Okay, look, you know what, Linda? You're right, and I'm fixing to piss off all of my, wait a minute, I mean, if you're an elected official and I'm on the PEC, so that makes me an elected official, I'm supposed to say, you know, I'm supposed to respect my, what are they, Rex? The people that are elected like you? Constituents? Or peers or whatever. My friends. Well, I'm going to piss them all off, because here's the thing. The Bossier PEC is moderate in comparison to before. They like to all say, and everybody likes to say, that they're more conservative. No, the current PEC we have is more moderate than the previous PEC. It was more conservative. It was. And again, that's the argument on the conservative thing and what defines what being conservative is. But I fall on the libertarian side. I want less government. I don't want government telling me I can have 50 freaking people. If I have 51 people come to my house, I got to pay $500 to the police jury to get a freaking permit and have them say whether or not I can have 51 people at my house for an event to do a crawfish boil and, have a good day listening to the radio.
Yeah.
That's bullcrap. Less government. I don't want Bossier City government giving a blank check to Manshack to screw us all on taxes and bump up the money. I mean,
well, let me point out one thing. So I've got the picture up from the 2016 Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, and look, you can see me standing there in the camo shirt, and lo and behold, look who is standing beside me to my left. Robert Berry, of all people. Okay, so I want to point out with this picture, though, because, of course, you're in there, John Dalton's in there, Mike Collier, look, there's Diane Long, Jason Brown, Rusty Lombardino's in there, Miss Ann, Eric Hamilton. Anyway, very conservative group, a little bit of a mixture in some cases. We didn't all agree, certainly on a lot of things, but a very conservative group who didn't have any real stepping stones to other office. I mean, in full disclosure, you did run for state rep. And some of the folks on there, including I think you are, Duke, were on the State Central Committee, so I want to be crystal clear about that.
As soon as I got involved, as soon as I was able to, when I retired from the fire department, and my awakening was on the fire department, I saw how city government did me. I saw how, things were going, and it needed to change. It wasn't right. I ran for state representative, and then I ran to get on the PEC, State Central Committee, and look, I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
still doing it. My why is not about being an elected official. My why is about us getting, and I said that when I ran for re-election here, when we had the hostile takeover of all these so-called conservatives, who obviously today don't want the public to know how they vote or how, we don't want everybody to know. We need to keep this between us. No, bull crap.
Yeah, you're right.
I want y'all to know, and I got to admit, I will fess up and admit right now, I got a problem with what the PEC did the other day. I'm going to acknowledge it, and I messed up. I made a mistake. I'm going to own it. I voted to support the propositions for the school board thing. Not that I'm against them, but because I wasn't able to ask all my questions. I still have questions on the renewals for the school board. I have questions considering everything that has transpired over the last year and a half, 2 years with COVID and money and all that. I still have questions, but yet I went along with everybody at the PEC to support this. And, I think it's the right vote, but I didn't completely do all of my due diligence. So,
well, that's okay. I mean, and it's okay that you're owning up to it. And so now I can't make as much fun of you for supporting that. But I've said that I'm not really against it either. And of course, I'm not on the PEC now, so it doesn't matter as far as the PEC's concerned. So, all right, let's get off of. I'll get off my soapbox about the PEC. And look, I want to make one final quick point. I'm not saying all of this because Doug Rimmer beat me in the election and Doug is on the PEC and I really, really want to be on the PEC. Full disclosure, I didn't want to be on the PEC in the first place. I'm not going to mention any names, but somebody that wears a red 24 hat and a few other people called me and were like, hey, we'd really like to see if you want to, run for the PEC deal. So it was fun, but that's not it. I think I'm where I need to be right now, which is doing what we're doing right now. I honestly think, Duke, that you are where you need to be right now, which is doing what we're doing and getting the message and getting the information out. There's a reason everything happens. And, whether
I believe
it's
that
God
too.
steering us in the right direction or it's just chance or whatever you want to say, I think we're both where we need to be. And honestly, I think the current PEC members are where they need to be so that we can point out all of these things.
I would agree with that, and I think it's the good Lord's will. I mean, look, I don't believe that anybody should have, the good Lord forced on them, but I think you're right. I think it's providence that we are being steered in the direction to do what we're doing and to say the things. And, there's people that don't like it. They absolutely don't like it. But the thing is we're saying what we believe publicly in the light of day. I mean, we're right here recorded. Anybody can go back and listen to what we say and say, hey, you're wrong. We're not saying it as if we're trying to hide it. We're not.
Not just that.
We've said it. Put it up. The opposition we're getting is because we're putting it out in the light.
Yeah, and look, we've said this over and over. Every member of that PEC is welcome to come on this show. Every one of them. We've said it over and over when we were playing.
Tommy Chandler.
Yeah,
Tommy Chandler. You
Charles literally Jacobs, have our phone numbers. We're not hard to find.
Richard Ray, paging Richard Ray. You're welcome to come on. Allie Feaster Smith, 2-time cockroach on our shows. You're welcome to come on. And you know what?
And look, you don't have to either, but you're welcome if you want. And let's have a chat. All right.
So let me push my soapbox a little further under the desk so I can't reach it again. And let's move on.
I'm getting wound up. I got to back off too. So we got to move forward. Now, look, at this meeting, there was also, and we're going to jump way ahead and we'll cover it at the next, how I say we cover the judicial candidates on the next show because, it was impressive. And I think that there was we got some good recordings of them speaking and I was impressed with both of them. And, but tonight, I think we ought to focus on the school board stuff because there was a lot of good questions, and I'm going to jump us to the hour and 18 mark. Hour and 18 mark. I think that's where we need to be. Yeah. So what a lot of folks don't realize is that this PEC meeting, the most conservative Republicans in Bossier Parish. And again, you guys can hate me. I don't know. You can all meet me in the parking lot and we can all, go a few rounds. That's fine. I don't care. Shane, you can be mad at me. All of y'all, I don't care. I'm not there to please all of y'all. I'm there because the people of Bossier Parish elected me to be on the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. And you wanted me to support those ideals of conservatism, and I'm doing that. I'm not there to make all the rest of those people there like me. I'm not there. I'm there for you. Yeah, Michael Ferris, you're right. Calm down. Ooh,
take a breath.
Take a deep breath. Woosah. Yeah. All right, 118.99. Here's the first question right out of the gate to the Bossier Parish School Board people pushing the renewal of the 3 propositions in which you and I had articulated we ain't took a position on yet. So here we go.
Every school, every teacher, and the renewal of these 3 propositions affect the very future of Bossier Parish. We know that you have questions. We have brought members of our team here with us tonight, and we'd love to be able to open up the floor to some of those.
What is the total value of this altogether?
Of the proposition?
Yeah, the whole thing.
It's $48.5 million.
$48.5 million?
Yes.
And what is your projected increase between now and 2025 with these 3,000 additional students? How much additional tax revenue are we going to get because of our growth?
It'll depend on the assessment each year. We can only go year to year, and so we do expect it to continue to grow. We've talked to Butch Ford with the police jury and heard of the different housing developments, the different apartment complexes they have going in, and of course all of those are going to continue to increase the value. At this time we don't have a projection on the revenue there, or what potential ad valorem revenue that would be, because it's so unknown which year each of those projects will be completed. But
okay, so maybe a lot of you understood the question, maybe you didn't. And Rex, I'm pretty sure that you understood the question.
Yeah.
But so the mills are set, and it's based on property values and business and all. And Bossier Parish is projected to continue to grow and grow exponentially. I mean, every entity in Bossier, and that's a good thing to the to the police jury, to the city, to the school board. Everybody's eye is on growing Bossier and continuing to grow it. I mean,
Right.
I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think in the previous show we maybe criticized that, and we articulated maybe that Bossier should have changed through evolution rather than revolution, meaning that we need to control our growth so that we do it right. But the question was, what is the projection on growth, and what would be the monetary number that you would see in that projected growth?
Well, right. Okay, so let me try to simplify it a little bit. And you did a fine job of explaining it, but it's pretty simple. So as Bossier continues to grow, then naturally there will be more kids in those families that are part of the growth that will be entering the school system and will cost the school board and the school system X amount of money. But for each one of those new families, there's going to be a growth in homes purchased, businesses started, and all that, which means the tax base itself is going to grow. So it's not like the population grows and, that's costing the school board lots of money, because it's offset by the home values and the millages assessed against those homes and the businesses. I want folks to be crystal clear on this. According to our own tax assessor's office, it's either 70% or 80%. Let's just go with the low number, 70%. 70% of all the tax revenues generated for the school board in the parish of Bossier are generated by businesses, not by homeowners, by the way. And so most of you may or may not realize, I'll use Home Depot as an example because that was an example given by the assessor's office. Home Depot is not just assessed on the value of the land property and their parking lot and the building. They're assessed on the value of the inventory, the value of the phone systems, the value of the shelves that hold all the inventory. So they pay lots of money in taxes. So does Lowe's, so does Tubbs Hardware, so does the racetrack, the casinos, etc. And I'm no expert on how all of that is assessed, but I want everybody to be clear. When some people say that, well, only homeowners pay these millages, that is simply not true, because the businesses, the local businesses, are paying too, and then all the consumers, whether they own property or not, are having to pay for that assessed tax too, because they're having to purchase goods from the retail merchant who is going to mark up their products based on their total expenses. So let's be crystal clear about that. Everybody's paying for the school board taxes. And the other millages too, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. And again, we're not saying we're against renewal. I mean,
right.
That's not.
We're just pointing out the facts.
We're pointing out the facts, and I think, and this goes to transparency. I think governments, we're at a point in time where governments, especially local governments, have no choice, but they have to start being more transparent on all of these things. And you know what? I'm going to jump out on a limb and I'm going to say probably the Bossier Parish School Board, they probably didn't get that number from Butch Ford or the police jury. They probably don't have that number and probably don't know what the estimated income. So the question becomes, if they have a surplus, will the taxpayer see a benefit from that surplus? Or will the government entity, in this case, the school board, will they just use that extra to spend it somewhere else or what have you? How will that go? I can tell you, historically, the taxpayer, you don't get a break. Ever.
Never.
Ever.
It's like Kaylee Larkin just commented. She said, yet they don't use those local businesses, just like Martin pointed out. Yes, Home Depot and Airline might be local, but it is not a local corporation like other Bossier businesses are. Okay.
Well, I mean, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I gotta pull myself back, pull the reins. Y'all seen it.
Yeah, and look, I agree with you 100%, Kaylee. It's always better to support a local business, but let's also face it, most of the people that are employed by the local Home Depot are local folks. And those local tax dollars are going into the pool for the city council, the school board, the police, jury, so on and so forth. So, yeah, a lot of the profits go to the corporation and whatever franchise fees, however that all works out with Home Depot and the others, Lowe's and the others. But they all, even Walmart employs mostly local folks. Whether they pay them enough or not, it's a whole other argument. So I see your point, Kayla.
Now, look, that was the first question out of the gate, but there was another follow-up question and another, and I got to go to this next one. So if you're a voter and you're a taxpayer, and this happens every election, and you and I have complained about this on other shows talking about these type things, and, most recently, well, anyway, I'm just going to play the video.
Yep.
You guys will hear the question. You make your own judgment. Here we go.
Who made the decision to go, when is it, April?
April 30th.
What, is there anything else on the ballot other than that day?
Not on our ballot that I know of.
So once again, the school board's going on a standalone election. Why do you all do that? It cost you roughly $100,000 to do that. Why didn't you all go with the judges on the judges' side? Then you could have it free. Not free. Sure. I mean, we talk about this every time, and it's always the same answer. It never changes. We got 2 school board members here. You want to answer that?
I'm no longer a school board.
We have time to meet all of the requirements to post it. We couldn't get it done by March 8th.
Oh, that's complete
All
BS.
Right. Yeah, I will acknowledge that. I will put it out here. So that was the superintendent, and he said basically they didn't have time to be able to get it on that ballot. They only had time to get it on that April one. That's what he said.
Whoa. Time out.
Okay.
This renews every 10 years. So literally, they've known for 10 years it was coming up for renewal this year. So that argument doesn't hold water. Nice try, Mitch. Leave it to an experienced political guy and businessman like Mike Collier to be the one to bring up that point, not the other PEC members. All right.
Now, I want to point out, okay, that's fine. I want to point out Collier said, or he didn't say, Collier is a cockroach. Collier is one of the
He's a cohort.
He's a cohort from the old PEC they attempted to replace him. Why was he attempted to replace him? You just heard him ask a basic question. Why would a political body seek to put an election on a ballot? Now, he was wrong on the $100,000.
A little
but he
bit,
was
but not
right
far.
Not far.
It's
He
about
was
50 to 60,000.
Yeah, but he was articulating the point of why would you do that? You should put it on the ballot with the judges when there's going to be more people to vote. We already know the answer as to why it was put on the ballot that it was put.
Wait a minute. One more time out. I don't know how many I have left, but one more time out. Now, you mentioned that they ran somebody against Mike Collier, who has been, as far as I know, Republican, if not all of his life, the vast majority of it. I can tell you without a doubt is a very conservative guy. Who was it that they ran against Mike Collier?
Oh, wait a minute. You're going for a walk down memory lane here.
If I'm going to burn the bridge, I'm pouring 10 gallons of gasoline on it and a few gallons of diesel.
I'm with you. And I'm carrying, gasoline or diesel or whatever it is as well, too, because
you're the fireman to keep me from getting burned too badly.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's undeniable. And for those of you watching, all right, that's Mike Collier. He was also attempted to be removed. You just heard him articulating against why was this put on a ballot that was not on the same ballot with the judges' race so that you guys could vote in March. It was one and done, but no, you're going to have to go March and April, and they're on separate ballots, costing the taxpayers more money. That was Mike Collier, a cockroach, a cohort, a bad guy, a crazy, along with everybody else, and he was asking a legitimate question that every taxpayer should ask. But he was also challenged to be on the PEC for asking questions like that.
And
he was
challenged. Yes, say it.
He was challenged by somebody that was formerly had an association with the school system. He was challenged by somebody that is said to be recruited by Richard Ray, Allie Feaster Smith, legislative assistant to Raymond Cruz, Richard Ray, attorney Tommy Chandler, City of Bossier, assistant city attorney in City of Bossier. Starting to put a pattern together.
But wait, there's more. How long has Jerry Fowler, and Jerry Fowler's been a relatively nice guy to me, was on the Cypress District, but how long has Jerry Fowler been a Republican? Yeah, he's a nice guy, but facts are facts. How long has Jerry Fowler been a Republican?
One day before he qualified. And ironically, that's not what it says in state law, but yet somehow or another it goes to district court in Benton, and a judge named Charles Smith rules that he's qualified, even though the rules don't say that.
Are y'all to paraphrase from TikTok and all these other social media deals? Do y'all get the assignment yet? The assignment was for these so-called conservative Republicans to take over the PEC. And one of the ways they did that was had a Democrat switch from Democrat to Republican the day before qualifying to run against Mike Collier, successful businessman, been in the Republican Party forever. One of the few asking very good questions at the PEC meeting. They tried to replace him with a Democrat, literally. Get it yet?
He's a crazy. Now, the wild question for all of you watching is who is the conservative Republican that walks on water that identified people, or at least myself, you, Collier, and Price, as being one of the crazies? Who on earth could have been the ringleader of all of that?
It would have to be somebody that is a constitutional attorney and scholar, somebody that could speak so well that anybody would believe him. It would have to be somebody like that. I just can't imagine who that would be.
That sounds like a Trump supporter, somebody that believes the 2020 election was stole from Trump. Surely it's got to be somebody like that.
And takes selfies with Trump and selfies with football players and great LSU quarterbacks and posts them at just the right moment. It would have to be somebody like that so he could help gin up public support and sympathy, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know who that could be.
But I digress.
Yeah, let's move. Let's move. We're moving backward. Let's move forward.
So much more. I mean, guys, look, COVID. Bossier Parish School Board basically carried the water for John Bell Edwards. I mean, come on. I mean, they had this law firm and all this stuff. There's so much more on this thing. But Mike Collier asked the question, who made the decision to put this on the ballot in April? And, it was basically crickets.
Well, we didn't know about it long enough. We've only had literally a decade to think about this. A decade.
Collier called it out. I mean, it's only every 10 years, right?
I don't know where to go. I'm so riled up. This is why I can't go to the meetings, because I would have said, Mitch, are you stupid? You've had 10 years.
Admittedly, I did not do a good enough job for everybody in the parish. I was unprepared. I actually was focused on something more, and I didn't prepare enough for questioning here, and I was not able to get all the question in, but I did get one question here. So if you're a teacher, and Rex, you and I know, we get emails all the time. We get tons of information, and people ask us, in which recently we got an email and said that in the school board numbers, and they would appreciate if we asked that teachers pay, and when we're talking about teachers, we're talking about people that are in the classroom actually instructing students. Mm-hmm. It was said that assistant principals, coaches, and counselors as well were included in that number. So I heard, Sonia Bales, when she was talking about Proposition 3, she was talking about this is strictly for teachers. So I followed up with a question and I asked about that question. And here it is. I'm going to play it.
Okay.
Another one. In the Prop 3, you talked about teachers, and someone posed a question that in that prop are assistant principals, counselors, and coaches, or are those considered in teacher numbers, or is that considered
no
administration?
Administrative salaries are paid out of Propositions 1 or 3.
Assistant principals, administrative assistants.
The principals are not. No, sir, they're in a different fund. They are not. This would be teachers. Now, coaches are classified as teachers, so coaches would be, but not the principals and the assistant principals.
Okay,
So,
super, thank you.
Sonia, are you looking for an endorsement from this body?
We would welcome it.
Okay, so you heard that.
Right.
Principals and assistant principals are not included in it. Anybody else other than principals and assistant principals are included in teacher pay.
Right.
Does that make sense? So
do you want me to get my soapbox back out?
No, I'm not asking you to get your soapbox
All right,
out.
I'll make it simple. It's BS.
That's a question that's asked to us a lot of times, and we've
read the
been
language.
pounded with it.
Go read the actual language of the millage renewals. Just go read the actual language. Okay? And that's all you got to do. I want so bad to pull the trigger and show the top salaries because, again, back in 2018, the top 20 folks in the Bossier Parish school system, the vast majority of which of those top 20 are administration, were all over $90,000. The top 50 were over $80,000. Again, the vast majority administration. So, folks of you that are teachers that are, well, the folks that I want to be clear,
that's
the
not
folks.
Fair. That's not fair. Those are old numbers.
Well, they're 2018. They've gone up since then. So, I want to be clear to any of the teachers that are watching.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Well, because they've gotten a pay increase since 2018. I can be very, very confident. Let's put it that way. So I want to let.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not saying you're right either. You don't know that for a fact.
Until we get the numbers, but based on the 2016 to 2018 difference and the fact that they did get a $1,500 or whatever it was, which I know is not really enough, raise between 2018 and now, again, I'm being very careful in how I say it. I can be very confident that at least the administration and many of the teachers have had a raise since 2018, albeit maybe not enough. But I want to be clear to our teachers that are watching. And Duke, I'm pretty sure I can speak for you, but stop me if I'm wrong. We are not against the teachers, and we think the vast majority of teachers need to be paid more. All right? All we're trying to do is, again, we're not saying that we're for or against the renewal. Right now, we're in the let's provide information and provide our insight into this phase of things. Okay.
And again, I acknowledge I made a mistake because I had more questions that I needed to ask, and I was not prepared as I should have been at this meeting. But there were questions asked, and there was another question asked about how long the terms were for these renewals, and I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
How many years will this last? You may have said that. I missed it.
They're 10-year terms.
10 years?
Each millage is a 10-year term.
Okay, so the total 10-year amount is going to be $48 million. $48 million a year. Per year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We have a motion.
So that goes back to Collier asking about, the projections going into the future. So you can't necessarily say that it's going to be a flat $48 million per year, every year for the next 10 years. 5 years from now, look, Bossier Parish has seen exponential growth in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What will it be in 5 years? But again, there will be a growth in the 48 million, it should go more than that. And what is that? We don't know.
Right.
But will you, the taxpayer, ever see the benefit of that? Now, actually, the school system, if you have growth of residential housing and business, you would expect to see growth in the number of kids and the number of classrooms that are needed and services for kids. So you would expect a budget to increase. Does that offset? Does it not? I don't know. I think the taxpayers may want to see that. Maybe they would want to know that.
Yeah, more information is always better. Correct information, good information, but more information is always better. Okay, so is this the point where did I hear the motion being made to endorse, or was that something else?
There was an endorsement or a motion made, and it happened pretty quick. And we'll jump to the 127 mark. And, in the notes I have Shane again runs it up the flagpole pretty quick. And I'll play that at that point.
Okay.
Hope you're getting that down. Secretary.
I had to turn his phone on. Okay, so we have a motion to endorse proposition 1, 2, and 3 for the tax removal. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Objection. We have a discussion on this. We just can't railroad this through.
Go ahead, Mike.
Can't do that.
That's why we need you around to keep us.
So anyway, and that's really not even important, but Shane, the dynamics of what happened, Shane was made the chairman and a motion was made. Shane actually made the motion, and it kind of moved pretty fast. And a lot of folks had a few more questions, and it moved kind of fast. Shane, you can't always get good PR. You can be mad at me, but it moved a little fast, and there needs to be more question. I advocate all the time, both in the legislature, in DC, legislation and things all move too fast. Everything in government moves too fast, and there needs to be more introspection. There needs to be more accountability. There needs to be more questions. There needs to be more oversight of all of these things. I mean, we are too fast to rubber stamp things and move forward with things. And I got to tell you, this is one of them. I voted in favor of it. I had a few more questions. I'm not convinced that it's wrong. I'm not. But I still have other questions.
Right.
And I'll go back to a previous show. When do the taxpayers ever get a break? When does it happen? Do they ever?
Well, it's
should they?
It's like asking, when a tax is added, does it ever get taken away? So this millage has been on there for at least 10 years, and honestly, I don't know off the top of my head the entire history. Well, let me rephrase that, these three particular millages. I don't know if they were on there the 10 years prior to that. I don't know when the three of them first got voted in, but once they're there, it's almost impossible to get them off of there. I'm not saying that we should remove the millages. I know the schools need funding. Again, we're right now kind of in the informational stage of all this, but when does a tax ever get removed?
Yeah, so we're down to about 70 folks, so it's dropping a little bit, which we're going long. All right, we're going to jump ahead. Now, a lot of folks are probably wondering, did you ask any questions about the ESSER funding? And did you ask any questions about, because we get the emails, Rex, you know, you see them. People hit us about, talk about the governor's law firm that steers all the parish executive committee. I mean, not the parish executive, the school boards.
Right.
Getting it confused. Hey, I did. And I tell you what, I asked the question. You ask us the questions and encourage us to ask. I push those questions. And I asked about the ESSER funds for Bossier Parish. And I asked as well about the law firm that's representing the Bossier Parish School Board. And I'm just let's play it. And on that point, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to ask this one question because I get it a lot. There's two parts to it. One, how much in the ESSER funds did Bossier Parish School get? And the second part is about the not have a competent attorney from Bossier Parish that could represent the Bossier Parish School Board?
I think, first of all, to your first question, Ms. Sandberg can talk about the ESSER funding because it doesn't come all at once. It's graduated.
Correct. We received $70.679 million across 10 different grants. It was 10 different allocations, 10 different grants, but that's the total amount we received. We didn't get cash in the bank. I want to point that out. They're all cost reimbursement. The budget has to be approved. The money's spent. We submit reimbursement and we get reimbursement back. Those reimbursements are filed monthly. That original portion, the ESSER 1, as you hear it, a Strong Start, it goes by different names, was originally awarded around March or April of 2020. So a portion of this has already been spent. Those 10 allocations go from March of 2020 all the way through September of and we can get into how we're spending it if y'all want to go there. But the majority is going to be lost learning and continuation of learning and for the students. And so that's a huge priority for us, and I think our task force speak to that. So
I get pounded with these emails and messages, and I want to say I can't recollect off the top of my head, but 3 disbursements, and I think ultimately it was like a total of $300 million or something like that. And
Talking about Caddo.
That must be Caddo. Caddo did receive significantly more than we did. Part of it was awarded based on the number of Title I schools and how the Title I allocation goes out. But Caddo also has a larger student base, and so it is also based on the students. 20.679. Approved for. We don't have the cash. We've spent about $15 million of that.
We'll be over what, two years?
A total of 4.
And if you go to louisianacomeback.com, there's a dashboard there that you can do a deeper dive to any school district and state, and it'll show where the money is.
What'd you say, louisianacomeback.com?
Correct.
There's all kind of conspiracy theories out there about what the money can be spent for. They're very strict guidelines. They are reimbursements after we've already allocated the money. We typically have to wait to spend the money on anything that's not approved ahead of time. So it's all aimed at lost learning.
we know the audio is bad, guys. We apologize.
The main target. So I know there's people that think that we have a pirate's haul of money that the federal government printed for us, but that's not the case.
Now, all right. So basically, they're articulating that they said the numbers that we were articulating is not, because we've gotten emails that said like there were 3 disbursements, right. And I don't remember the exact numbers, and again, I apologize. I wasn't prepared for this meeting, and I articulated a number. It may not have been accurate, but the Bossier Parish School Board immediately said that they thought that was Caddo's actual number for disbursement, not Bossier. But they articulated a number for 1 disbursement for Bossier Parish. I don't know whether that's correct, incorrect. I would assume it's correct. I don't know. A lot of you watching have been more in tune to that than what we have been. But to the second part of the question about the attorney, why could we not find a competent attorney for Bossier Parish? Now, I'm going to jump out there and say that we had one of our other PEC members, police juror, who is also on the Bossier Parish Executive Committee, Juliana Parks, jumped up and pointed out, that it's against the law for the law firm that's representing the school board to say that they are specializing in representation of school boards. And I'm going to jump to that mark and play that. That kind of caught me off guard. If it'll play.
Firms around the state that does specialize in school law.
Well, and that's
attorneys aren't allowed to advertise they are specialized. Isn't that right? You can specialize. You can only specialize in tax law. Any advertisement that you specialize in anything else is not allowed. So
about 95% of their cases are school related.
Right.
Well, I would point out this is a Republican body who just supported your increases and, or not your increases, your renewals. Sorry. Donations have been a little bit of a disparity to one John Bell Edwards, and you might take a look at that.
What do you know about that?
What do I know about it? Just what's on the campaign finance reports, looking at campaign donations.
Do you give to every candidate? I mean,
They give to different candidates, but sure have given a lot to one Democrat governor. So, this is a Republican.
I mean, they probably may give to every governor, in the same manner that they give to John Bell. I don't know if that's but Donald Trump also gave to.
I didn't go back very far, but I will say that, a majority of our legislature and all of our legislators, that came out by the governor. And adversely, I know that the board and the administration was advised by firms, so I have some questions about that. And I know a lot of other people that do as well, too. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask that question.
So, did you catch all that, Rex? Even though
basically, how did you know that? I looked it up on the campaign finance reports. I mean, it's simple.
It wasn't rocket science. I mean, we articulated that before, that this lawyer, John Guise, their campaign finance reports were primarily for John Bell Edwards. John Bell Edwards opposed the legislature, and everybody trying to fight these mask mandates and all this crap that came down the pike. And I'm sorry, but the question, the person that asked the question was the superintendent. He says he's the one that he retorted that to me as if he's going to bully me here at our own meeting. He just came to the Republican Parish Executive Committee, asked us to endorse his renewals, and he's going to, oppose me asking a question about the law firm that's not from Bossier that they choose. And, it goes back to Martin Grau. Martin Grau, I mean, look, I just soon punch Martin Grau in the nose as agree with him. I mean, you know that.
Right.
But Martin is right. I mean, using Bossier Parish businesses, you telling me that we can't find an attorney in Bossier Parish who can represent the Bossier Parish School Board? We've got to use this law firm that has overwhelmingly donated to John Bell Edwards, and the superintendent who duck hunts with them he's deaf, dumb, and oblivious to it. You're kidding me?
His answer should have been more politically oriented. He should have said, well, I wasn't aware of that, Mr. Lowrie, but I'll certainly look into it. Can you send me links to those campaign donations? I'll be glad to take a look at that. I just didn't know.
But guys, everybody watching, Facebook, I think there's 40 plus people, and on the other platforms, it puts us up at 80 something. I'm excited that there's other people watching us on other platforms. That means Facebook is losing, but that's good. But here's the thing. Dadgum. Where was all my conservative brethren? I'm the crackpot. I'm the cockroach. I'm the crazy on the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee asking these freaking questions.
Asking real questions, legit questions, not powder puff stuff.
Where was everybody else? I guess I was not supposed to I guess I was supposed to just rubber stamp and not ask questions. Yeah. Am I, Rex, am I the crackpot? Am I freaking batwing crazy?
It just depends on which side of the crazy coin you're on, Duke. That's all. It's all a matter of perspective.
I mean,
from their perspective, which is soft, weak, quasi-Republicans, I won't even call most of them conservatives, you, Mike, Ann, Rusty, Barry Butler, me, we're all the crazies, blah, blah, blah. But from our perspective, and I would, of course, argue that we're right, they're the crazy ones. I mean, we can back it up with their comments and the stupid things that they ask and don't ask. The proof's right there.
But the king of transparency, Tommy Chandler, he's the most conservative freaking guy in Bossier. He is the epitome of Republican conservatism. I mean,
if he were wanting to conserve photos of grand openings and all that, he's pretty good at that. But
or
anyway,
Tahoe's in Vegas. I mean,
I'm sorry. In my new spirit of niceness, I have to be better than that. Although I wasn't very nice to Danny, so Purdue.
Look, Ramon Green.
You know.
Look, you're probably a Democrat, and I mean, look, I could beat up on Democrats all day long. That's low-hanging fruit for me. It really is. But my problem, at least Democrats, you know what somebody told me one time, Rex? Somebody said, you know what the difference between Republicans and Democrats are? You know what they said?
What's that?
Democrats are like termites. They may disagree, but no matter what, they stick together and they don't turn their back on each other. And they just freaking just eat and eat and eat and eat and go. And they do their thing.
Yes.
Republicans, they don't do that. They eat each other.
Yeah.
They
quickly.
eat each other. And that's what's happened in Bossier. We can't have good government because freaking Republicans say they're Republicans, but they're not. They're not Republicans at all. They're after their own self-interest, and I don't care. You know what? The Bossier PEC, y'all can all be pissed off at me. I don't care. You know what? The truth of the matter is you're moderate. You're not conservative. If you're conservative, prove it. Let's take some action. The next meeting, let's do something conservative. Show me I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. Take an action. Prove you're conservative. Let's have something limited government. Let's bring it together. Prove to me that we're all on the same page, and let's do it. Show it to me. Because so far for the last 2 years, Richard Ray and Allie Feaster Smith's crew, at the behest of Mike Johnson, you haven't done anything conservative. All you did was limit the conservatives from holding you accountable. That's what you did. That's what you did. And I said it. All of y'all watching, I said it.
Okay. Well, let's start wrapping it up because it is time for me to go refill my glass of tea. We're at the 2 hour and 17-minute mark. We still got over 60 people watching. Very, very happy with that. I can't believe we have dedicated dozens and dozens of dedicated people.
Well, I got to
stay with us. That's awesome.
That's right. I mean, we're still holding at 70 people total. I want to ask y'all, did anything of what we talked about tonight, did it reach home? Did you get anything from it? Was it a waste of time? Should we spend more time, fluff, shorten it up? What? Did you get anything out of it? I'm just wondering. I mean, because we're trying to give you the inside ball, and you can't get all of the inside ball. I mean, yeah, the PEC is boring, but you need to be able to understand how these things work. I mean, the PEC is an entity that can affect the outcome of things, and you need to understand that aspect of it. Yeah, it's not the City Council of Bossier who's not asking questions of what 8 digits are. You let a contractor come into Bossier City and say, oh, the cost of the Walter O. Bigby carriageway overpass, if you don't take action today, will be 8 digits to the taxpayers of Bossier, and not a councilman or your mayor, Transparency Mayor Chandler. None of them will freaking ask the question, define for me in writing what 8 digits are. None of them will ask. Not Chris Smith, not Hammonds. None of them has asked the question. None of them.
Well, here's what I can promise you, and we can both promise everybody watching the show, and those that watch it later, and those that watch it in silent privacy. We're not gonna quit talking about all this. There is a lot more to come. we're going to keep doing what we do. And look, for the politicians and the bureaucrats, y'all just keep right on doing what you're doing, and we're going to keep right on broadcasting it right here to hundreds of people a night. And, usually within 24 hours or so, we're at a couple thousand views, at least 1,000 views.
Yep.
Some shows a couple thousand. So, hey.
Mark Smith, the alias Mark Smith. So everybody watching, you may not realize it. Mark Smith is an alias.
Yes.
He acknowledges that's his alias. Mark Smith, you know a little bit about politics. You're somebody on the inside. I'll tell you what, Mark Smith, come out publicly and tell us who you are. And, the fun may end a little bit, but you can create another alias and then come back. But tell us who you are. Come out publicly and let's shine the light on everything. Let's hear what you really think. We're here with our faces saying what we really believe. We're not hiding behind an alias. We're saying what we learn. We're not hiding. Come on out.
Yeah. Let's have a little fun. Join us.
Let's have a and I'm talking about the original Mark Smith. I'm not talking about the second alias.
Yeah, there were two separate Facebook profiles, at least there for a while. Separate profile
I'm talking about
numbers.
the real one.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we need to talk about tonight?
I don't know. I am beat to a pulp. Guys, I gave it all I could. I did fail you a little bit on the Bossier PEC. I should have had more questions. I am not saying I'm against the renewal of the school board propositions. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I had a few more questions that I would have liked to have asked. And I was more focused on fighting the anti-cockroach, anti-crazy conspiracy group of, look, Raymond, you can say you weren't a part of it. You want to chime in anytime, you're welcome. I do like what you did at the legislature with the Krispy Kreme. I did like that, but your girl, your legislative assistant, who you give the ability to do what she is doing, Allie Feaster-Smith, and Richard Ray, who Tommy Chandler is giving the ability to do what she's doing, y'all have skewed things for the voter. Y'all are all welcome to come on here and let's have it out.
Yeah.
Anytime. It's open to you. You know that.
Yeah.
We've said it countless times. We say it again.
We can have a full round table. We can easily support 3 or 4 guests, but I can increase that number too. So, yeah, they're all welcome. They all have our phone numbers. They've either got yours or they got mine. Call us.
Let's put it all on the table.
Call us.
And, call us. You know how to get a hold of it. Let's put it all out there. Let's let the public make their own decision as to what has transpired since Allie's came to be and her clamoring for control and being, anyway, I could go all night. I'm going to shut up, Rex. You close out the show. We have beat this horse to death.
Yeah, we'll close out with this. Brandy says she's ready for her moment on Bossier Watch. Yeah, we'll be glad to have you on. Maybe next Tuesday or something. We'll figure it out. Because I know you're trying to launch some of your own videos, and that's awesome. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody that watched tonight. Standard deal. If you got information you want to share with us without revealing who you are, go make you a free protonmail.com account. Don't put any identifying information. Send an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com, and we will take a look at it. You can go to bossierwatch.org or bossierwatch.com. I'm starting to revamp the site. We're actually going to do a little bit of long-form content. Both Duke and I are going to start writing a few articles whenever we have time. You can send us large files if you have large files of information, and you can donate us some coffee money if you would like to.
So,
go ahead.
Rex, let me interrupt you here. All right. I'm going to frame this a certain way, and don't add on to this, okay?
Okay.
Because this is tedious stuff right here. So, thanks to all of you watching, and there's a lot. Look, one of our viewers, just like all of you watching the show, Ashley Lee Bullock. Ashley Lee Bullock is now in the fight. She is now on the PEC. She was able to get on there, and she is fighting for transparency. She is fighting for open government. And I would also point out, thank you, Ashley Lee, for joining in and trying to make a change and, our local government. Our goal is to make Bossier better. I mean, this is our home. We live here, and Northwest Louisiana for that. With Louisiana Watch, same thing. But in addition to that, for all of you that's been hanging on, I mean, y'all are been here for 2.5 hours, right? We're still seeing 60 plus people. That's awesome. So since you've been hanging on so long, we're going to give you a little inside ball. Know this. Okay, Rex, I'm going to choose my words carefully, so don't add on to this unless you can do it carefully. I know you like to give up too much, but we're going to give y'all some inside ball. Know that because of all of you watching and some of the information that you all have shared with us, there are a lot of things that have come to us as a result of the show and what you have information you've shared with us of things going on in local government that have been passed on to entities that have the ability to enforce law on, activities of local government that aren't on the up and up. And know that those balls are in play as a result of you and your support of this show.
Yeah, well put. I will not add anything to that as I'm biting my lip now.
I'm biting it as well, too. But
because I'm 7 foot tall and bulletproof on iced tea, and if I had a beer or Crown and Coke, I'd be 8 foot tall and bulletproof. So
we had to give something out to everybody.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up, folks.
Good night.
Good night. See y'all next Tuesday or maybe Thursday evening, too. Anyway, we'll see how it plays out. Y'all have a good night, folks. We're out of here.